Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend.
Hey everybody, welcome Tuesday night. It's Golden Guys. We are here. We'll be joined by our Sophia in a little bit. Good having the crew again back, all three of us together. We haven't been on together in a couple of weeks. DS, how you doing? Welcome back, my man.
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, it's good to be back. I watched replay and some live last week when I had the minute. I caught some of it live when you had Anthony on here. That was a really good discussion about art and comics and just collecting in general. I really liked his perspective on things. So you guys did a good job.
Yeah, he was a great guest, and plan on having him on again soon. I'm gonna reach out to him, have him come on, and we'll figure a topic right there. Knights, how we doing?
I've been pretty busy learning some new software, and it takes a lot
How's
of
that
time.
going? Yeah,
I'm good,
Yeah,
but
right.
everything Windows, Jesus, all those people who do that forever, God. But it's kind of fun. You guys do that at all? Do any editing?
I've done video
For your
editing, but
videos?
no.
I don't do any editing. I have no tech skills whatsoever, which is ironic because when I was younger, I was very computer savvy. I have a background that's fairly heavy in computer programming, and it got to a point in the mid 90s where stuff was changing monthly. It wasn't like, prior to that, computers were advancing, but it wasn't so fast. And so I was just heavy into programming and stuff, and the internet came along, and then stuff just exploded, exponentially increasing. So I couldn't keep up with it. So now I can't even figure out anything. Now I'm like a tech idiot, which is ironic because I used to be very tech savvy. So I don't know. I don't have it.
Well, at least
I've never
you can
been tech
throw it away around the phone, so that's good.
Yeah.
Get all the options and stuff.
Well, I mean, I just learned what hashtags were like 2 years ago, and I think people have been using them for over a decade. So
Nice. That's funny. Good. So
Anything new?
no, I've been kind of quiet here, going through a few things. I was looking at the Comic Link auction. It had some pretty good stuff. Something. It's still going on. It's pretty much. I think the Golden Age books are done now. Art is in like a week. It's okay. It wasn't. There was a few things there I was interested in. There was about, I think, 4 or 5 I bid on. Put low bids in there just to keep up with them, and then I kept an eye on it. A few auctions coming up in the summer. I've been kind of taking it easy this summer. Kind of thinking about what I want to do the rest of the year through to get some of these books. But it's been fun. It's been good. I was going to bring up the chat here. But then I realized I don't have my glasses on, which means that you all get to be on the front page. So, all right, here we go. Chris Barrett starts it off. Barrett 316 says, I'm first. Ricky 669 says, I don't mind being number 2. How are you doing? Javi, how you doing? Comic Books NYC doing a great reboot of his art show, which is
that was a great show. I watched that reboot.
Must watch. Absolute must watch. Mr. Gretzky 9966. Rangers start playing, scoring goals, or they will be outed. I agree with you. Yep, that's word. Well, I was watching that just before here's second period. So, DS is here. Okay. Sorry, but it's one of the only ways I could see everybody. Comic Man Andy, what's good, y'all? How are you doing, Andy? Andy, the host of the Andy Given Thursday, also sometimes on the Modern Men as well. Comic Books NYC, are you okay? Good having him here. Stream Element Spot, watching our back. That's always fun and handy. I know I saw other people. Discovery Bay, good evening, everyone. We've been discovered. Good having him here. Still going strong over there. Disco, that's the show that we were talking about. Then you got Ruben. What up, fam? How are you doing? Good having you here. Count Von Strange. Good having you. Comic Mag and Mustang says, hey, JDDS and Knights. Good having you here. Good having a part of everybody. Let's bring Jeff in here. Jeff, rush it right on.
Oh,
How you doing?
sorry, guys.
Finally.
No worries.
Apologies.
Bonafide, good having you here. I'm just going through the chat. A lot of good people in the chat today.
Sweet.
And yeah, like we talked about, Anthony was a great guest. Great having him on. I'm looking forward to maybe talking with him again. Omega Comics, how are you? Good right there. So, I've been good. So I didn't really get anything for show and tell ready. I'm working on a piece of art that hopefully I can get, but we'll see. Settle down. So why don't you guys DS, I know you have something to show. Jeff, hey, how are you?
Good, man. Great. Excited. I had some stuff. I'll show some stuff too if you guys want.
Yeah.
What are those card things in the back there? The little characters. I never
Me
noticed
or-
them. Yeah,
These
you
guys.
Jeff.
Oh, these
Yeah.
are little statues.
Those
Oh,
are the tin statues. The first
Yeah,
Volume
you got
one.
like
You
you
got
got Flash here.
Oh, cool.
they come
Yeah,
in
each one of these.
Yeah.
My favorite Flash.
They're both Marvel
Is
and
it?
DC.
I think I don't know. I just got these.
Careful.
I got these with the collection. I was like, oh, all right, well, I might just well keep some figurines, right? What the heck not? So Green Llama, Spirit, Lone Ranger, Buck Rogers,
Oh, that's cool.
Mandrake.
Rosetta Buck Rogers.
Very cool.
Yeah, right here's Buck Rogers. Old school Buck.
I love Buck Rogers stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right?
I kind of want one of those old toy guns. Those Buck Rogers guns. Those are pretty cool.
Oh,
Like fake
His
ones.
Mandrake.
And
Oh, like a tin toy type concept.
yeah, it's like a gun that shoots sparks or something. It's like a ray gun. Really cool.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool that it had the little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take a
There's
look
a
at
lot
this
of
guy.
knockoffs.
Taking
So,
him out right now. It's my
There
first
he
time
is.
taking this dude out.
yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
That's a cool Buck Rogers right there.
All right.
Nice.
All right. So overexposed, but yeah, that's him. There's a little
Little jetpack.
pew pew pew.
Nice. Very good.
All right.
This guy, you mean a laser? Yeah, it's a laser.
Yeah, so I got a couple books. You want me to show my books and then Jeff
Sure.
can show you?
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm excited to show these. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen them, but we're gonna show them again anyway. So this one I sent in without cleaning or pressing or doing anything, and it came back the grade that I expected it, and it was my Dynamic 8.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah, so this came back at 3.0, creamed off white. I pretty much thought that it would be because cover's detached and two center wraps are detached. So the cover being detached maxed it out at 4.0. So it was never going to be higher than a 4.0.
Yeah.
The overall wear on it is better than a 4.0. So it's 4.0 for the wear, and the cover detached maxed it out. Then the two center wraps being detached dropped another point. There's another collector who has also one almost identical. It's got the cover and two wraps detached, and his got a 3.0 also. So that plus just the way I ballparked it, I figured 3.0. But still, with a book like this, I'm really hoping there's no issues. And I looked at it carefully, and I didn't think there would be. So, and believe it or not, a 3.0, this is near the top of the census. There's
I was going
17
to say that's a high grade for that book.
Yeah, this is where the census drop is. There's 5 higher, but there's like a 9.2 and then a 7.5, and then goes down to a 3.5, and then there's a couple at 3.0, and most of them are lower than that.
Right.
So, relative for this book is pretty high grade, but it's just such a cool book. I've been looking for this for years. I've been asking around, making offers to the couple people that have them. They don't want to come off them, so really happy to get that. So that's one.
Nice, and that's for your PC, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not selling
You
that
waited
anytime.
so long for that one. That was a good one.
Yeah, and the other one's for my PC too. I picked this up recently. You guys are all familiar with that. Mask
Oh,
1,
yeah.
Cole, top of the list for LD Cole, 2.5, creamed off white, no notes. It's got a little piece missing down here.
But
which
that
is
piece is
too bad.
not. Yeah, it's better than the pieces that you see that were missing across the top.
Just
Yeah,
put a little
you're looking copy aside from that chip, but this book is just,
Beautiful copy.
it's expensive. There's feeding frenzies on it. It's hard to get a copy with, to get in the money on it. So yeah, I was able to get a copy for a decent price actually from a friend that hooked me up, and he made a nice profit on it, and I got one of my favorite books, so it worked out for both of us. So yeah, really happy to get this for the PC.
Look at that. That's awesome.
That's a
Congrats
beauty.
again. That's a 1-2 punch right there for the PC right there.
You're
Yeah,
gonna
real good, real good.
You're gonna press and clean it?
Huh?
Are you gonna press and clean it?
No, I think he sent this one in without pressing it and cleaning it. And I sent the dynamic in without pressing and clean. So neither of the books I'm showing tonight have been pressed or cleaned, and I'm not going to. So, I don't press everything. That dynamic with 3 detached wraps, and one of which was the cover, it's not going to go higher. I thought about it, and I just didn't want to mess with it and take the risk. It's not worth it to me. I mean, that book is hard enough to find, and it's good as it is. I don't want to mess with it. So
That's awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah, Dark GA mail call doesn't get better than that, really. I mean, those
yeah,
are
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the email call I've ever had. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that's awesome,
Right.
man.
Jeff, what do you want to show?
Wait. Show them. Can you show them together? I love the group shot kind of thing, and since they're both
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Get your cameras out.
All night long. You just say the word and I'll hold them up.
Yeah. 2 for the
Oh.
PC.
Oh man, that's
Everybody,
awesome.
Screenshot. There you go.
yeah. Oh,
There you go.
That's-
Not you, just the books. Yeah. Make sure you cover yourself.
well,
According to tonight, you got to cover yourself.
Christmas card.
It's tough to
Yeah.
do too without getting
that is
reflections. So I
good.
can't match
That's
the glare.
really good
stuff. There we go.
That's good right there. Oh,
It's a
still too much,
very
man.
special episode of the Golden Guys here where we get 2 PC books right out there. And one of the two better looking copies for the grade. Really, probably the best 2 presenting copies for the grade I've ever seen.
which one has brighter colors to you?
Well, I mean, this one is like black and beige. There's not really any colors on it.
Yeah.
It's just super creepy.
The other one's run by LB Cole on acid.
Mask had pretty good colors on it.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both really, really decent for the grade. I mean, they're killer books, obviously, but for the grades, they're really good-looking copies for the grades. Now, I mean, this is not ideal, but do I need an ideal copy of this? This is ideal for me. This is a nice copy.
That's where you hold it. That's all. Yeah, exactly.
There you
Oh,
go.
wow, what is that? Is that a 5.0? That's pretty.
Yeah, it's a 5.5.
Yeah. Hey.
You know, I need
I'll tell you, if it
some.
wasn't for that chip, this would probably grade at
Oh
a
God, that would be.
No bad.
3.5. I bet you 3.5 probably.
Maybe higher. That's a bigger than a point pull.
I mean, I don't think it will get higher. It's got some wear on it. I mean, it's.
Okay.
I
So
think
3.5 and a mask
this
is
chip,
ridiculous.
5, it seems to max out at that size.
I bet though, if it stayed the same price or the same grade, it would go up at least to 1K.
Probably. I mean, this book is. Look, nothing can go up forever, and I don't want to pay a certain price for certain books and that have skyrocketed. So I just wait till they come back down. I think that book will come back down some, but it's still for Dark GA. It's a Punch 12 level book. It's not a Suspense 3 or Fantastic 3 or Scoop 2 level probably even, but it's a Punch 12 level book for sure. I think at this point, and so it's that solid second tier of Dark GA. I think it's in there, and
Which came out first? What
Mask
are the years?
45. This is 44. Punch 12, I think, is January of 45. So the Mask is 2 of 45. So Mask and Punch 12 are the same, and this was a year before, 44.
Right.
So yeah,
Nice.
I think I like. I don't know even which one I like better. This is my current favorite book, though. I just freaking love it.
A book I saw on the Comic Link auction that I kind of was taken back by the price of it, how early it was in the auction with how much to go. I don't know where it ended up. Was Witchcraft 2, the yellow skull cover. They had a really nice copy on that auction. I forget what it was going for, but it was high for me. I wanted to bring it up where it was in like the $5,000-$6,000 range. That kind of book kind of never was under the radar. I've always called that the PCH collector's grail. It's like collectors like that book. It's not your Black Cat 50 that everybody collects. That's like a special one. Is that about how would you describe a Witchcraft 2?
Yeah, I mean, any Golden Age book with a massive skull on the cover,
Yeah.
it's got appeal for that crowd. And I had a Witchcraft 2, and as far as skull covers go for PCH, yeah, I think that's one of the better ones because it's bright yellow background and it's got the skull, big skull in the middle. It's comparable, I think, to Mysterious Adventures 13, which is like a full sort of flaming skull with a girl pulling her man out of the skull's mouth. And yeah, all those get referred to as like a poor man's Punch 12, but they all have appeal. They're all good sellers. I had a 2.0, no, I had a 1.8 of the Witchcraft 2. And when I went to sell it, it went quick. I didn't even have any problems moving. It was very liquid, and I pretty much got my asking price instantly. So yeah, it's a fast mover, and any book with a big skull on it, I think, is good. Easy to move and always sought after.
Yeah, I just saw it going comic. Like I have to look up what it was. I have to remember. I have to research that. But it was definitely a higher grade that was going in a much higher price range than I thought it was. Very much in
I think I got just short of 500 for my 1.8.
Yeah, this was in the thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
In the 5,000-6,000 range.
It's a tough book to find in a nice grade. I don't remember the publisher on that, but it's one of those ones that you just never find good ones.
Did you go through your dynamic at all and see how much of it is actually a horror book on the inside when you had it raw?
I did read through it. It has several stories in it. There's one that I would say is horror, and there's a couple that are like mystery, thriller, crime sort of stuff, detective stuff with a little bit of a dark theme to it. And then there's a kitty story in it. So it's not horror through and through, but it's mostly, I would say, mystery thriller through and through. But I'll tell you, interesting thing is Front Page, which is a one-shot, is considered by most, the word is that's the first horror cover. And I've talked to a lot of collectors about this. And in order to be a horror cover, to compete for what's the first horror cover, it can't be superhero themed. So there's like a lot of those Fox books that have the flame on it, or Samson or something. They might be horror, or like R Flag 5, which is a 1942 book. It's got like a classic horror scene, but it's got superheroes on it. So a non-superhero horror themed cover, everybody says Front Page is the first one. Front Page is 1945. This is 1944, and I think this is a horror cover. So I say this predates, and Front Page is not like so classically awesome horror that obviously this doesn't compete with it. I mean, it's got a creepy sort of skeletonized figure with a knife over a victim. This is on par with that. So, if that had Frankenstein and a mummy and Dracula on it, then it would compete. But that's not any more horrific than this is, and this is 44. And also, Front Page doesn't have a month. It's just 45. Punch 12, people might call that a crime cover, but I mean, it's got a massive skull on it. That's January of 45.
Crawling out of it, too.
It will also be a horror cover, which would predate that. But this is 44. So this predates Front Page, in my opinion, if non-superhero horror cover.
Right.
Yeah. Do you know if is that story in the cover, or a cover in the story at all inside?
Not really. Not really. I mean, I was looking for it, and I didn't see a panel or anything like this. So I think it relates to a story, but it wasn't like exactly like that. But if interesting, if anybody wants to read this, you can Google Dynamic 8 page count, and it will bring up a link that is to a website, Comic Books Plus. And if you click that link, they have every page scanned from this book. But if you go to Comic Books Plus, there's nowhere to search. So you have to Google Dynamic Comics 8 page count, and then click on the Comic Book Plus link result that comes up, and you can read this entire book. Every page is scanned. And that's what I did to compare this to see if it was legit. Also. So, yeah, anybody wants to do that, there you go.
Real quick, what is your preferred site, guys, to use when you need to make damn sure that the page count is correct?
I would just go to comics.org. That's where I go.
.org?
Comic book database or my comic shop, the comic book database. I use the database the most, probably.
I use Comic Books Plus, but like I said, you can't search on their site, so you have to type in the comic book name and page count, and then click on the result that has a Comic Book Plus result. But I also use my comic shop, honestly.
Well, I like
That's the
comic
other one.
database, and maybe the other ones have this too, but they'll get real particular and write descriptions, because sometimes, you know, you could get a book that's got a page that shouldn't be there. So sometimes it's nice to get a description on some of those pages that aren't part of the story, you know,
Yep.
because those are the pages that could be swapped in.
Yeah, so most of what I like about the comic book database, and Atlas used to do this on their site, was like if it was like a crime book, they said, okay, FBI crime. Each page was each break in it, like even ads were separate, so you knew what everything was. It was just done really well, which was a good way to research a lot of the Atlas books, in particular when I was going to like 48 and buying books that were, you know, 4s and 5s, but were really loose, you know.
Another good thing you can do is if you have a book, usually publishers will have the same number of pages for a title usually. And you can get a sense, like a lot of times if you're looking at like a boy comics, you know, it's 48 pages. It's not like you even have to look it up. Or some of them are 60 pages. So a lot of them are standardized for arrows, for publishers, for titles. So if you know one, it's usually the same. You know, Lev Gleason will have usually 48 or 60, it seems like.
I think it depends on how long the run was. Because if the runs are really long, the time you get a complete variety. Feature comic, it's a great example. It's a huge long run, and they changed their page count a few times through that run. Boy Comics is an actually pretty long run too.
Yeah.
So same, it's going to change. So the longer your run is, the more chances you're going to run into having issues with page count and not truly knowing and having to check. Usually, you know, like you said, if it's a shorter run, it's usually pretty consistent. But
Well, you know, if you count pages, and you come up with certain numbers, you know that there's something. You know there's a wrap missing if you only come up with like 22. You know there's something. If there's 20, if you're counting 22 pages, there's something's off. Because basically you have to be able to divide it by 4 to get to the number of wraps. So,
and sometimes you can just check the pages themselves. When you're seeing the story and the pages are actually numbered, and you're missing that page, then you know, sometimes you can do your own due diligence. If you don't have Wi-Fi there, you're just kind of looking at it, doesn't seem right. Sometimes you can just deduce from that. But generally, I love to double check. Even though when I think I 100% know, you know, I do want to make sure, because I don't know. It's just once you buy that book, it's a whole other hassle to return it if you have to, if you can.
This is a great topic. This is at a con. Jeff, I don't think I've ever really talked to you about this, but when I buy raw books at a con, and they're bigger books or whatnot, you know, over $1,000 or something like that. When I mess with them, when I open them up and I check them, and that's non-slabbed, obviously, I don't do. I was buying raw, so I want to flat out tell you. I mean, when I get dealers that, you know, every dealer will let you open the book if they're really serious about selling it. They all do. But I go to the centerfold first, and it drives them crazy. It drives me crazy. I'm like, what are you doing? I said, if the centerfold doesn't match up, then this is not what I'm going there first, and I dig right into it. And if sometimes they cringe, but I'm like, I'm not manhandling. I don't have ape hands or anything else like that. I'm not ruining it. But what's one of the first things you do when you grab a book, a raw book that let's just say, you know, it's a high price book that you're sitting there, you want to buy it. First thing you do. I mean, everybody goes to the first page. I just go right for the centerfold.
First thing I do is I take the book out. I look at the front and the back cover. Okay. I flip it over and then I flip it back. I open up the first page just to see the attached to the staples or not. And then after that, I might check the back page, but then I count the pages to the middle, so it gets me to the centerfold from the back to the middle, and then from the middle to the front, and then I'll check the rest. Depending on what Obviously, I check as you count. You check for page quality. You check for dog ears, and then it's the center. And now you're checking the staples. You also get a good feel for the fragility of the book. Okay, if I jump straight to the centerfold, I can, depending how
drives people
solid
crazy.
it could drive crazy because you could literally crack the interior centerfold page. Because maybe for putting too much stress, depending how far you open it. I mean, I don't know, but that's like a really already delicate book, and maybe you should already get a warning from the dealer.
That's why I asked you flat out. You sure this is in fine condition?
You should ask the guys if you're going to open up a book with somebody who doesn't know you. If you're at a table, don't just feel like you have the right to open up the book. Get permission, ask, because there might be something there you're not aware of, or
he might have notes on it. Yeah,
really have some horror stories of people handling their books and they're just not comfortable with strangers, and they'll want to take it out for you at least, so you don't deal with the tape.
I saw a Spider-Man get its cover torn off.
Yeah, I always ask them. I say, I want to look at this book. Do you want to take it out for me? Because honestly, I would say 99% of books at cons or shops or whatever are taped without a pull tab. Honestly, they're just Scotch taped all the way down. So you have to peel the tape up. So I usually ask them, I want to look at this. Do you want to take it out for me? And they usually will just do it. Or if they let me do it, that's fine. But when I take the tape off, when I give it back to them, it's not going to be retaped the same way. I'm not risking a tape pull. They can retape it if they want or whatever. But the first thing I do is usually, look at the outside. But then when I open it up, I usually will hold up the cover to get some light, just so you can see if there's any opaqueness along the spine or any color touch. And I'll just hold it at an oblique angle and sort of see the top and see if there's anything sketchy about the cover, because I feel like 95% of the resto issues are on the inside of the cover, whether it's tear seals or color touch or something like that. You can see on the inside cover most of the time. And then I usually will count the pages. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll just go through and you can look at the centerfold. Sometimes it's a double page spread, or it's a nice condition book and you can see that there's nothing missing as you flip through. So I don't always count them, which I probably should, but sometimes like Silver Age books that are in decent shape, you can get to the centerfold and you can tell if there's a wrap missing, and you can see coupons cut or if a page is cut out usually. Not 100%, but I mean, it's, that's what I do. If I order one and it comes in the mail, I will sit at my desk and I will process it, and I will do a full page count, and I will closely inspect the staples, and I will do a full thing. But it's sort of an abbreviated version if I'm at somewhere, because time is money too. So I'm not trying to spend my whole day counting pages of books that I may or may not buy. So most of the time, if I get the feel that the book's legit and I don't see anything jumping out at me, I'll take, I'll usually go after it. But I don't buy a bunch of raw books at cons either. I mostly buy slabs.
Okay.
I actually, I'll grab. So in my wee golden age years, I was schooled by Terry O'Neill on how to do it the right way. So you take the tape completely off, and then you tell the dealer, where do you want this? And then they're like, whatever, or I don't know, they might take it, or who knows, or they'll put it on, this is if they let you do it yourself, which usually I'll let them offer to do it themselves first and whatever. But then when the tape's gone, you use the backing board as a kind of stretcher to pull the book out. So you're never pulling the book.
Yeah, right.
You don't really need to touch the book, actually. You could just use that board to stretcher it out. And then same thing going back in, which was cool. I collected books a long time and never thought of that. But
I do that, especially when you're at a con and you're on top of usually boxes are in the front of the dealer. I will pull it out with the board and put it back in with the board. Mm-hmm. But when I pull it out, I turn the board sideways, and then I turn the book regular ways, so that the board is sort of like a flat surface that most of the book is on, or at least the spine is on a flat surface with no breaks in it, whereas it would be on top of the comic boxes. So I turn the board sideways and use that as sort of a mini little table.
And then usually I tell them to put it back in, because that's the part I hate the most.
Putting back in.
Yeah, sometimes people put their comics on their boards. and the bags
Sorry?
are too tight. Sometimes people put the comics in the boards and the bag's too tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's an old
Like,
bag
I'm not-
that's like shrunk wrap out to the board, and you're just like, how did we get this in
They
here?
got 4mm Mylar and they've got 4 boards in the back, and you're like, all right, I don't want to.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if it's a Golden Age book in Mylar, I tell them, take it out. I want to look at this. I'm not messing with it because you know about Mylar. Mylar in a Golden Age book is like a freaking razor going in, putting the book back in, or even coming out. I mean, the thing is tight, it's sharp, it's I don't. If it's in Mylar, I'm not messing with it. I'll let them take it out. When I'm done, I'll give it to them. They can put it back in. I'm not risking it.
Yeah, I definitely have them put it back in after a Mylar for sure.
Yeah.
And then usually I'll keep it on the board and just kind of barely open it as it depends how much money it is, right? Or how beat up it is. And then try not to I'll like barely open it enough to I don't start counting right away. I don't know. That'd be crazy. But I go towards the centerfold and slowly open that and see if it's attached. And then usually if I know the dealer, I will, and they're like, right, complete, I'll just take their word for it and then check maybe later in a downtime or something if there's a place or something to do it, later on. So I'm not holding up everything, counting those guys usually stand by their word. But
yeah, and especially if the book is like really rough shape or just fragile already when you take it out, just don't even deal with it, man. It's okay. I as a dealer totally understand, and so will the dealers, showing you the book. I don't think I've heard of anybody ever freaking out like, you're gonna make me put back my own book? What are you, out of your mind? I think they rather prefer it, especially if it's fragile for Geely.
Yeah, there was one I looked at last year at Heroes. No, I think might have been Baltimore. There was a dealer who had a Mask 2, a raw Mask 2 up on the wall. And he had it at like 2.0, and he wanted like, I don't know, at the time it was cheap. It was like 3,500 or something. So I was like, hey, I'm really interested. Can I take a look at that Mask 2? And I looked at it. I'm like, man, is it cool if we take this out and look at it, because I'm interested in this book and if you want to take it out. So I let him take it out. And I looked through it, and it had tape on the inside, and it had replaced staples, and it had a bunch of issues. And it was immediately not something I was buying. It took like literally 5 to 10 seconds, and I knew this. I didn't even need to go any further. I didn't want that condition, so I gave it back to him. Like, yeah, this has got some issues. It's not for me. And I gave it back to him. Like, here, thanks for taking it out. And he didn't say anything in response, and I think he was kind of annoyed, like felt I was a tire kicker. But he had what I consider to be a restored book, or at best conserved, way overgraded and overpriced on his wall. I mean, dude, within 10 seconds, I can tell that was not a cool book, and so I just gave back to him, put back. But I will not ask to look at a book unless I'm seriously considering buying it. I'll look at books, and then I'll walk around, I'll come back. If it's really something that I'm thinking about going to buy, that's the only time I'll want to take it out. And then I know very quickly if there's a defect or an issue or something that I don't want, then I just give it right back. And that guy got kind of peeved with me, like I was wasting his time, like taking this book out, and but whatever. But
that's the person in his book, because
he
overpriced it and thinks he's just going to fool somebody into buying it, an ugly book that he should have just disclosed. If you don't want people going through your book and being surprised, then disclose the obvious.
That's how I felt about it. But it's important to take the books out if you're seriously looking at it. If you're seriously thinking about buying it, and it's a big book, it's definitely important to get it outside of that bag to look at. But if it's like a $300 book or something, or a PCH book, it's a good price. I might just buy it right off the wall or out of the box. I won't even, if Teddy's got something, I'll just buy it. And if it's not cool some way, I'll just hit them up and be like, hey, I bought this book. I'm going through it. It's got color touch, something like that. I think it'd be all right. But I'm not wasting time with smaller stuff. But big books I always want to see out.
The more description of the conditions or the things they found in the book, if it's a dealer, if he's had the book for a while. A lot of times at cons, he might not have the book for more than 10 minutes before he's put it up on his back wall. But if he's had the book for a while, one of the good things a lot of the dealers do, and he did, dealers out there, one of my favorite things is the little descriptions on the back. Quarter page missing out of the front, little loose staples, anything, information like that. The ones that take the time for that are really helpful in there. Maybe that works out as well. But if you're spending over $500 to maybe $1,000, do you have ever, you want to inspect the book, but be respectful and everything right there. I have seen people get a little ticked off about, like DS said, if it's a book that they've just taken out, like tire kickers, but that's going to happen at every con. They can't really do anything about it. I don't really care. A lot of times, a lot of the people I deal with, they know what we look for right off the bat. But one of the things
I've had 2 times where I've looked at the book enough, and then I say, this is missing a blah 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 or whatever, and maybe they might be, maybe some of it was showmanship, some good acting, but they were like, what the, like one time one guy was legitimately pissed, as if maybe he got the book recently or he knew who he got it from and he trusted him and didn't know there was like a centerfold out or something. And I got a great deal on that book because I think he just wanted to get it out of his life, and he was just so mad. But yeah, I mean, you can find that sometimes even the best dealers might, exactly what you're saying, like it might be new to them, and
right.
This is why there's these, and it's not an age-based thing, but it's people who are traditionalists and think comics should stay in raw condition. I have no problem with that, but these people think slabbing is a novelty, or it's going to wear off, or it's just a fad. It's not, because all
never going anywhere.
If I'm buying a CGC 5.0 of a Golden Age book, I don't need to worry. It's been page counted. It's been reviewed for resto. It's legit. I'm 100% sure. I don't have to worry about it. That security and peace of mind on a big book is not going away, whether because of cons or online purchasing or eBay or whatever. I mean, slabbing is here to stay, and I'm really glad it is progressed to the point that it's at now, and I hope it does further. But it's really gives you peace of mind as a buyer and a collector to buy a big book in a slab as opposed to raw, because all the issues we're talking about are taken care of if it's already slabbed. I feel 100% confident buying a slab copy of it. So.
And sometimes some dealers, and maybe the secret to this, Jeff, but or maybe I don't know how they do it, but I've had a couple times where I was like, I would buy this if it's graded or whatever, and sometimes there's been a couple times where they're like, all right, well, if you're here tomorrow or whatever, like it'll be great. Like they'll just, like if the CGC is there, at the con or whatever, they'll somehow get in line, like cronies maybe, who are like always in line at any moment. I don't know how they do it, but they do it fast. But also there was one time when I was trying to get a book for a friend, and we were trying to work out a price, and it was like, okay, we'll do that price, but then we're gonna get it graded, and if it's not that price, or it's not the grade you say, will you, what will you do there? And he ended up not wanting to do it, which was interesting, but it's another thing to do.
I mean, again, it's just the way people want to run their business and how they want to sell their books. I have a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm looking for a raw copy. I was like, I will crack it out for you.
Crack it out, buy it.
And nobody ever buys it. They want a raw copy because they feel they can get a better price on a raw copy. That is the majority of the answer. People want generally raw, if they're going to read it. But if it's usually of a higher value book for the most part, a lot of the times it seems that they only want it because they know they can get a little bit better of a price generally on a raw copy than a legit certified copy. Even though that's generally the case, though. You can generally find a raw book for less than you can. You just got to be sure that the grade is going to be what you get, and sometimes you hit that, and sometimes you get the bonus because maybe it's better.
Yeah, right.
That's generally the case. But I don't think I have ever, maybe one time, and I've had this asked a lot. I'm looking for a raw copy, and I'll literally have that book encapsulated. I was like, I will take it out for you, man. No problem. Free of charge. Just because I know they're going to say no. I mean, no. It's like one time I think somebody finally did take me up on it, but it's been a lot of times where they don't. As for grading, man, I'm with you, man. It's going to stick around for those people who can, like, comics are an investment, man. I'm sorry. Like, if you're not buying comics at investment prices, that's okay. You don't want to, but comics have gotten to the point If I'm buying a $10,000 item, it feels better for me to know that it has been certified by a third-party company, whoever that is for the most part. Okay? And with any collectible, people have a better comfort level. Now, if you don't want to keep it encapsulated, more power to you. Take it out, keep the label, stick it in the back of the bag and board. Now you can read it, sniff it, do whatever you want with it, man. And don't judge people for grading their books and thinking somehow you're in a higher tier level of consciousness for collecting because you want to keep yours raw. More power to you. Like, I don't judge anybody in how they collect because everyone is different and they have their own interests and their own personalities and how they want to do it. Go for it.
How do some dealers get it in that line faster?
What's that?
How do some dealers get their books graded so fast?
What's that?
How do some dealers get their books
What's that? I'm staying out of any of this conversation.
You can't answer that one.
Look, you know,
I don't know, man. I don't know who. Like, look. Certain people. I don't know if this is true or not, but if you're saying people are getting things through faster, maybe some people do a lot more business than other people. For me, I'm a big believer, man. If you spend $1 million with a company, I absolutely expect you to get some privilege over anybody else. I am not a big believer in everything has to be fair.
right. That's what I was going to say. Like, CGC is a major part of the hobby. They're not just a McDonald's. They're a part of the hobby, and there are dealers that spend tons of money a year at CGC. I would expect when those books go to them, they will jump ahead of me in line because they are spending way more than me. Now, people say, oh, dealers get more liberal grading. I think the grading's the same, but I totally believe that they will get their stuff graded faster. They'll jump to the front of the line. Yeah, I mean, if they're spending $500,000 a year getting stuff slabbed, yeah, they deserve to be ahead of me in line who's only sending in 200 books a year or whatever, like, big deal. I don't have a problem with that. So if they can get stuff in line on site and get it back instantly, yeah, I'm all for that, man. They're paying tons of money to get their books graded, like Reese or Collectors Comics. I mean, they're sending in massive submissions all the time. I mean, one of those submissions they send in, 100 books. I don't know, you're talking $4 or $5 grand, and then
easy, $100, $4 or $5 grand. Jesus, with the Reese's.
I've seen them write checks for 10 grand right there.
Like 200 books under Express. You're talking, what's Express, 100 or something?
Yeah, it's like, because there's like different tier levels for CGC's pricing of where you want to be. But yeah, you're gonna spend at least like Express is like $80 a book potentially. That's if it's like, and then if it's after a certain dollar amount, they take a percentage of the value.
Yeah.
So like 100 books is already $8K just in grading.
Right. So yeah, they should be able to jump in line, and if they can get it faster at a con, I'm all for it. I don't have a problem with that. I think that dealers get looser grades. I don't think that's the case.
But yeah, here's a example of that not being the case. I was at the first time I ever seen someone de-slab book was pretty kind of shocking for me because I was at a con and I think it was Jamie Graham. You guys probably know him, but he got some book back from CGC like right then, and then he was like, "What the?" And he he tore that thing apart with his bare hands. It was amazing, but it made such a loud sound. Like everyone, all the non-comic people who were all over the place were like freaking out, like, "What the hell's going on?"
Blackhawks probably lost the game. He was pissed.
He was like, I was like, "What the?" And he's like, "That's not right." And he thought it would sell better as a raw than at that grade, whatever it was.
When I sell books, which I'm not on Jeff's level or these dealers, I don't set up at cons, but I'll grade it what I think is accurate. I won't undergrade or overgrade. I'll just grade what I think it is, and people know that I'm close enough, or how close usually I am, so they're confident enough in my grading. I'll give good pictures and somebody can look at the book. And then the raw discount is the cost of slabbing. Basically, you're saving me the cost of slabbing. So, if it's a bronze book, it's $100 instead of $120. You know what I mean? It's not like it's
$24.30.
Same as it is for a slab. It's $27 or $20 less for me. So that's the discount you get. That's how I do it. I think raws and slabs same price for it. There's just more security in buying the slab, but I think the value is the same.
Here's the
I don't give number grades when people ask me the condition of the book. I go by the very specific VG minus VG plus because I'm not committing myself to that number. You know, I'm not going to say it's a 4 or 5. I'm going to say it's VG plus V. It's VG plus. You know, and that's how I learned this was before numbers. You know, I did the VG fine, very fine, and near mint. There was no, I mean, near mint plus came around, and now you got all these things. But one of the hardest things I have when somebody says, "Does it have 9.8 potential?" I'm like, I don't see enough flaws for it not to be a 9.8, but I don't see enough things on it to make me think it is a 9.8. I mean, it's just one of those things. I'm not good at saying 9.8 potential. But I have no problem saying the book's near mint. You can get a 9.4, 9.6, or a 9.8. If I looked at it, I wouldn't give it a 9.8. I say that. I never give a book a 9.8. But that's more modern. When it goes to Goldeneye, I'm straight up. Disclose everything. I put posts out there on the boards. It says this is VG minus for these reasons. Here, and here, you know, right down the line. So I just never graded it by the numbers. I still won't do it because I find from what I heard from one guy says, I gave a number grade. I gave a book a 5.0. The guy got pissed. It came back a 4.0. Wanted his money back. He says they told him it was a 5.0. I said that was my grade. Now, did he overgrade it? He might have. Or did the grader see something inside the book? A lot of people just look at the cover and say, "Well, this is a 3.5." I'm like, "Well, you didn't open it up. You didn't look at it. You didn't know what's inside." You know, that's the first wrap is White Princess of the Jungle. The next inside wrap is Fantastic Four 4. You know.
If I sell a book and it comes back lower from CGC, people who buy off me raws, which is not often, but I do sell some raws. I tell them, take a look at it when you get it. Let me know what you think. If you don't want it, send it back. I'll cover the return shipping, and I'll take a return at all. If you want to send it in, it gets what it gets. It's yours. If it comes back restored or incomplete, I'll buy it back. I'll give you your money back. Send me the slab.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty confident I'm not going to miss those things when I'm selling a raw. And, you know, my grading might not be spot on. But if you get it and you take a look at it and you decide it's cool and you send it to CGC and it gets lower, well, I mean, what do you want me to do? You could have sent it back. You didn't. That's on you. If it comes back restored, I'll take it back. But, you know, usually this is why I like selling slabs, though, because some people, they want to hold you to a grade and they want to know, is this definitely going to get a 9.4 at CGC? I don't know, man. I think it's if you don't take the chance, don't buy it.
You know, I deal in the same dealers now. I'm getting old and crotchety is what I'm dealing with, where I'm only looking at the same 5-6 dealers now online and not really dealing with anybody else that's new. I'm like, even on eBay, I look at them like I've never dealt with them before. And the other guy, if another guy has the book that I've dealt with, I might tell him, hey, I want to pay, I'll tell them I'd rather deal with them. I don't know. Maybe that's the way it is. But there are some people that I've sold when I sell books on the boards. It's funny. I get the same repeat buyers. I have a lot of repeat buyers.
Oh, yeah. And if someone knows you're legit, they'll buy it.
They love. One guy flat out said, he goes, bulletproof packing, but fair pricing, and he grades it. He undergrade, I get called an undergrader a lot, but I don't agree with that. I think I'm not a stricter grader. I just have a hard cutoff that if a piece out of the cover is missing, that's the size of my thumbnail, then I'm not giving it any higher than a 4 or 5. I don't care what the rest of the book looks like.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like most of the complaints that I've got from buyers are on super high grade books. Because I've sold copies that were low grade beaters, 2.0 range with chunks missing, detached this, whatever. If they know what's up with it, then they know what's up with it. And I'm like, man, it looks like a 2.0 to me, but there's a huge chunk missing and all this shit's detached and the staple's rusty. Like if they already know what they're getting into. But when somebody buys that book that they want to pin you down the grade and you're like, all right, I think it's a 9.4, 9.6. And then they won't want to come back at 9.2. Man, I don't know. I'm not very good when it gets to like 9.6, 9.4 range. I mean, that's tough, man. Those are super tough. But the low grade stuff, people that are buying that, as long as they know what's the low grade issues, then they can see it. Then they'll know what it is. And usually I don't have problems with that. It's the high grade stuff people tend to complain if they do, I feel like.
I was trying to buy. I was looking at it, literally an MLJ book. I think it was a zip that honestly, the description on what he said was wrong with the book, and he missed something. And I said, hey, I pointed out to him, I said, hey, there's Sharpie on the cover as well. And he goes, I mean, it's obvious right here. It's in the Z right here. And okay. And he's like, all right, I'll put that on as restored. He put it back in the back wall. And my buddy went over and he says, hey, did you see that zip book? I said, yeah. He goes, it's restored. He goes, no, he doesn't have it restored. I think I'm going to buy it for $1,200. I'm like, dude, go tell him about that stupid black Sharpie on the inside. Tell him to fix that. And I don't think it's my responsibility, but if my friend bought that book, I would have walked him right back over there and said, dude, I told you that was restored. But it's also some places are buyer beware. Not everybody. A lot of the dealers, I just deal with the same ones. I'm sure it's the same way you guys are at this point. I mean, like DS, I do buy raws from you. I do buy raws from you all the time, and I've gotten them slabbed. I've been perfectly satisfied with everything,
Yeah, I think the ones you've gotten off me, I think, have come back within a half a point either way of where I said it was, and I send you good pictures, and you know what you're getting, and it is.
Yeah.
Depending on what you buy, some of these guys too, like a year later, if you your con's back a year later, well, maybe who knows how long now, but then you show them like, hey, I got this last year, or they might not remember the price or pretend they don't remember the price, but if you're buying Golden Age stuff, they'll buy it back, they'll take it back, no problem, as far as I know. And I want to talk about for pages, because we skipped over that real quick, is sometimes I'll come across the saddle stitching and all kinds of weird, and can you guys explain this saddle stitch thing? And maybe this is what I'm thinking about, but let's hear from the experts.
Well, you're talking about where it's been sewn with thread? Is that what you're talking about? What are you talking about?
Or
I've overcome. I've found some pages in Timely's where it's like it goes in and then it comes out, through the staple just a little bit. It's not a full page, and maybe this is not legit, but I've also seen on the boards there is weird stuff like that sometimes in some of those books. And I don't know, maybe that's not saddle stitching.
Well, I know there's something called Siamese pages, which is a weird sort of printing defect, but that's where the pages are sort of connected and didn't get cut. And then there's where sometimes there's an extra piece that got tore off of another wrap and is still attached to that book, and it's overhanging. Those are the two situations I've seen.
I feel like I've seen saddle stitch on a few terminologies used around the time, but I feel like it's also used incorrectly and a few times. So I'm also a little confused on it because I've seen it used by other people. For me, saddle stitch has always been the impression like it was been a sewn type of cover all the way.
That's what I was thinking, sewn.
Literally stitched.
Yeah.
But I've seen people use the term saddle stitch for comics as well, and I'm not 100% sure
Wow.
the references to that.
I thought I was
for sometimes when a paper is cut wrong, or there's extra from another wrap that got lost from the other wrap and there's an extra piece sticking out on this book. There's a name for that, and I can't remember what it's called. But there's a lot of similar type defects that fall under that terminology, and I can't remember. And then there's Chinese pages, which is a similar sort of weird production defect you don't see very often. And honestly, I have not have a lot of experience. I had one book with a little extra on it that was folded in, and it was from somebody else out there has a copy of that book with a big chunk missing off the center fold, because that chunk tore off and is on intact on my book, and it got folded in. And CGC didn't mention it on the notes or in the grader's notes, or take points off for it. It was as if it didn't exist. It was not a defect of my book. It was a defect of somebody else's book that got sort of stuck to mine. Didn't hurt the grade on my book, but it would hurt it on theirs when they send theirs and there's a chunk missing.
Right.
Well, we'll get to the bottom of this and
We'll get answers for everybody.
figure this out for another one.
Yeah. So generally, back to the grading. Generally, I'm a conservative grader, but it helps and it's easy to be conservative grading for the most part when if you're selling, where you have room on your book. A lot of people here will also buy books so tight they'll try to squeeze half a point, and then price it that way. So you'll see that, and you got to be careful, And so for like grading, when you're trying to guarantee a grade, I like what you were saying, JD, of just having verbiage of VG plus opposed to letter. I can see that really putting an actual number for people is registering as the actual CGC grade, putting just, VG plus instead of 4.5, I think that's a mental difference maybe. I always talk in numbers with it, and I do kind of like that. It gives it a little bit of a wiggle room, but it's like when you sell something to somebody, I've had this conversation. It's like, hey, if it comes down a point, can I get the difference? I was like, sure, but if it goes up, can you give me the difference?
Yeah,
right.
Like, no, there's never like, oh yeah, sure. It's like you can complain when it goes down, but you'll never complain when it goes up, and you're never going to contact that dealer and be like, hey, went up half a point. Why don't I give you that difference? So it's kind of a two-way street when you're buying kind of tight, but I don't know, just a couple things to think about, because you got to look on the other side too. Sometimes you'll see dealers really trying to push a grade because they're into a book maybe too much. So you got to understand that. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just letting you know, like, if there's a much wiggle room or they're priced high, it's generally probably because they.
Another thing I feel like, and I could be wrong, maybe it's just my paranoia or whatever, but it seems to be the case that overgrading is something that far too many dealers are doing knowingly, and it's accepted as part of the hobby. And I could throw a name out there and you all will shake your heads and smile when I throw the name out, because you all know grades, and there's a couple guys like that. They're known for overgrading. They've been in the hobby a long time. I feel like they know they're overgrading, and it's just like an acceptable thing where a lot of dealers are overgrading knowingly, and it's like an acceptable thing. So you just have to take that into account. It sort of bothers me, and maybe I'm wrong, but I
how
feel like
is a page missing a Fine Plus book? Page missing effect story Fine Plus on a guy's webpage.
Well, wouldn't that be a green label? Because that could be green, right?
Yeah, to me, a page is missing. It's not Fine Plus. This is something I've seen more recently with a few dealers, which is now they're disclosing the defects and still overgrading it. They're disclosing 1/4 inch tear in back of page, everything else VF. It's not VF, man. I mean, it's not Fine Plus. I mean, that drives me nuts. You're right. Overgrading right now, I see absolutely more than ever before. And it's the internet buying, and by the time you get the book, you're not going to bitch enough. But that's not true. There's Karens everywhere. People are going to complain about this shit all over the place. It's no joke. I've seen some of these books. I saw a book a guy get that he bought from a dealer, that was graded there. I'm like, that is so bullshit. I mean, you got yourself a 3.0 right here. It's missing shit. He disclosed everything. I get that. But you still put your own grading philosophy on.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know these guys are handling hundreds of thousands of books, these dealers, some of them, and they don't have time to inspect every page of every book. I get it. Right. Sometimes it's going to slip through. As long as they're ethical about disclosing what they know and grading fairly and treating you fairly, and then if there's an issue, resolving it for you quickly. If you buy a book at a con and then the next con you tell them, hey, I bought this book at the last con, I'm going through it, it's got resto, and then they take it back. Most of them are pretty good like that. Grading, I'm newer to the hobby than all of these dealers, and I feel like my grading, when I feel like my grading is more fair than theirs, it's not because I know more than them. They know far more than I do. Their wisdom blows me out of the water. and their knowledge. So there's something going on when these guys are grading books way over what I'm grading them, and I've only been doing it, 6 years. So it bothers me, not to a point that I won't deal with these guys, because a lot of the ones I'm talking about are awesome guys, and I will go to their booth at every con. It's just always in the back of my mind. It bothers me, and I like sticking to slabs for big books, and I just, it pushes me more towards graded stuff and slabs when I'm at cons, honestly.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something really quick too on that, because I want to maybe blow some people's minds here. But with grading, if a book grades a 5.5 and you graded a 5.0, you graded it wrong. Just because you undergraded a book doesn't mean you're a better grader.
Right.
Look, if you graded 6.0 and it came back 5.5, you were wrong. Okay?
People tell me all the time.
So just understand that whether it's both sides, just because you undergraded it doesn't make you a better grader. Maybe you're conservative, okay? You're not a better grader because you don't nail it 100% of the time, which is obviously a tough task because maybe they don't grade 100% of the time either. But that's the marker, okay? That's what you have. If it comes 5.5, you graded a 5.0, you're 90 better than the guy who graded a 6.0. It's the same thing, half a point difference. You're both wrong.
Yeah, I'm not looking for exactitude on it, but when I'm looking at a book that's a 2.5 and they're telling me it's a VG plus,
that's ridiculous.
I feel like
unless you miss something.
Yeah, I mean, look, I bought a book from you, Jeff, and it came back a half a point different than what you and I both thought. Yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, you and me were both on the money with that grade. It's within reason. But if I'm looking at something that's a 2.5, I'm looking at it, and it's a 2.5 to me, and he's got it at VG plus at a VG plus grade, and it's a guy who's been doing it for 30 years, I feel like that's way off. I'm not talking about 2.5 to 3 or 4 and 4.5 or even a 6 and a 5. That's close enough. They tell me it's a 6, it comes back a 5. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of all right. But a 2.5 to a 4, stuff like that is what I'm talking about. And I see that a lot. And I've only been in the hobby a short time, so it might just be me and my, old crotchety sort of grumpy self on this stuff. But I don't know. That's just my perspective on it. But I mean, I still like the guys. You just gotta. I don't like having to count that in the overgrading for some of these guys, and I feel like it's going on a lot.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about? I gotta go soon, so I'm just changing the subject. But
throw it out there. We'll end the show.
Increases. How much should that upgrade?
Half a grade.
That's it?
I don't take off a lot. Yeah, I don't. All right. First of all, subscription creases are not as common on Golden Age books because they didn't start folding them in there till the silver and the bronze. The most common ages you're going to see those subscription creases, which are folded in half and sent in manila envelopes. Those weren't done during the 40s. These things weren't mailed. They were hung.
I got screwed over then because I got a timely that
I keep saying timely. I don't. Yeah. What that is not a subscription crease. What that is some kid folded it, put it in his back pocket, and walked around with it.
Well, what did you get?
So what do you want to call that then? Back pocket crease? I mean,
I don't know what to call that. I'm saying it's a term that I don't get because you did those Captain Americas were not something that you ordered in the mail that came delivered to you. You would have a stamp of somebody's address on there. They were
I think the origin of the sub crease, but I think that becomes the name for all those crease, all the back pockets.
Right in the middle. What they are is bad kids were reading comic books and they were folding them in half and putting them in their blue jeans. When the good kids that had book bags were putting them in their book bags to keep them all nice and clean.
Well, I'll tell you from CGC, a book length crease, like a sub crease or one going the other way, or one that goes diagonally but covers, like almost half of the book. A book length crease maxes out at 6.0 for CGC.
Yeah,
a mint condition book, but it's got a book length crease. It's 6.0, and that's it. And as it gets smaller from that, you can go up. But if you have, you can get up to a 7, 7.5. But I feel like once you get into the 8 range, those creases better be tiny, and there better not be many of them on there. Maybe one.
Right.
There's no color breaking on this, so does that mean you could press it out, DS?
No, you probably broke the fibers too, so you could press it only so much.
But what I'm saying is that that's one of the things that you see a lot of the Golden Age books, especially, and no offense to yes, but a lot of the crime and horror books have been folded in half. There's a notorious thing about the Atomic Age books from the early 50s, late 40s books, in particular of the free-code horror and the crime that were folded in half, particularly because the whole story is that the bad kids wearing jeans were the ones folding it, putting it in their back pocket.
Yeah, I get them. I had a
Mickey Mouse. You know,
yeah, Mr. Crab with one, and it had other issues, but it graded out at a 4.0, and it had a sub crease on it. I had a Blue Bolt, didn't break colors like the one Knights is showing there. It had a sub crease on it. It was a Blue Bolt 115 with like the 80s heavy metal sort of skull with the long hair on it, the black cover. I think it's 115. That had a crease on it. Didn't break color, but it broke fiber, and that fiber had been basically broken and in that condition for 60 years or whatever now, 70 years. So it pressed out, but the crease was still there. It didn't break color, but it's like the paper was broke so much that as you go from the spine, it would dip down, and then it would make a ridge up and then keep going. And it was all the colors there, but I mean, the paper's all, the fibers are destroyed. You can't fix that. So it was still visible, but it was flat and it didn't break color, but you could still see that line. It wasn't going away.
That Blue Beetle I showed last week. Okay, it was the Ohio copy. It looked so clean and nice. I had no idea. I opened the front cover, and as I open it, it makes a sharp bend, and you can see that, this was folded at some point, but you couldn't even tell. Like, looking at it, I had no clue until I opened it and flipped it, and I said, oh, wow. Right away, it wanted to bend like a V because it's just weak there, but no color breaks. It didn't even register until I opened it and realized, one of the reasons you guys should open your books, by the way. You never know what happens when you open them.
Forget who I interviewed.
The ridge. Once that valley and that ridge is formed and the paper's broke, you can't fix it. Even if it doesn't break color, it's still there. And that Blue Bolt 115, I got a 4.5 on it, and I pressed it. Came out nice, but that wasn't going away. But it was nice. It was as good as it was going to get, and it was still.
You might be able to upgrade that cap, man. You might. Maybe some dad actually folded in half to whack his son with it because he was.
That's the other thing. You could have beat your kid with the captains. You know.
Well, it actually
pages.
Well, that's the Miss America.
The
mom.
A production flaw, almost the way it's. I don't know. Maybe I'll take some close-up pictures or something for you, but it kind of looked like something like it's like too nice of a crease. I don't know. But I also have another bonus segment called the new segment I want to do, and so you do make the screen big.
Here we go.
So this is a new segment. You guys might want to do it. Could be fun. I'm gonna, us old golden guy people. We like reminiscing about we take our photo books out and get the cellophane over there to reminisce about the old days when things were swell. So I call this the let's take a look back in time, and I'm going to show a couple pictures of the old comic collection of yore. So here's hopefully I can get this going. This is and you might have seen some of these on Instagram. Yeah. So I had put my timelies in a comic rack.
Nice
point.
Literally feels like your phone is extra long. It just keeps.
But man, I do miss some of these. I used to have a lot more, and I wanted to get some big books, so they had to be sacrificed. But that was fun. And then one more.
Would you find an old phone?
I still have some of them.
Oh, that's nice.
Bunch of caps.
Wow, nice.
But it's fun. It's fun to look at them like that, These old racks.
If I find my old pictures, my whole Fantastic Four, 1 through 10.
Yeah, do it.
Rack, yeah.
I always try to before you sell your book, take some pictures. It's fun to look at them later, and also usually if I'll get a upkeep or upgrade, whatever, I will wait till I get that in the mail, because sometimes it's not as much of a upgrade as you think, and look at them together, and then I'll take a picture before I sell the whichever one's going. But that's
Nice.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got one of those from this was like probably 18 months ago. I've got a picture that's similar look back, and I think I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Remember when?
7 of these 8 are gone. I only have 1 of these left in my collection.
Oh, well, that's awesome. You took a picture.
Yeah, so I had a 7.0 Black Cat.
Which one is left?
Remember when you
6 on the bottom. This one.
Wow.
and you have an upgrade of the Starling Terror.
Yeah, I have a 3.5 of the Startling Terror. I just the last 2 weeks sold that Weird Mysteries 4 and the Chamber of Chills 23. The Tomb of Terror and the Black Cat I sold a while ago. That Thing 15 I sold last year. That Chamber of Chills I had actually gotten the resto removed, and it was a 5.5 conserved, and I sold that earlier this year. But this was a look back. About 18 months. This was my top 8 books, basically.
Nice.
But yeah, I sold them, and you know, you sell stuff, you get other stuff, and hopefully you increase the value of your collection over time. And I have definitely done that since I've taken that picture. Now 7 of those 8 are gone, but my collection is far better now than it was that day. And part of the reason is because I was willing to move books that I liked to get books that I like more, so to speak. So, but that Black Cat, I don't regret. That's the only one I think about. I don't regret selling it. I had it. I mean, I had a 7.0 Black Cat 50. I probably will never get another one in that grade. But I'm not inclined to buy another copy of that book at all. So it makes me think that I did the right decision, and I made a huge profit on that book.
Then you can't lose. You can't lose.
Yeah, I mean, I put that towards other stuff that I still have. So yeah, I mean, you can't keep everything, and unless you have unlimited funds, you have to be able to trade up.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Of mine, it was 40 comics, and I only kept 10. Yeah. But you know, if they presented the same trade to me, like this stack versus these 2 or whatever, I'm sure I would pick the same thing I did. So whatever, that's fine.
Yeah, I try to keep my PC at 100 books or less.
I'm just a little surprised that a lot of them haven't come up for sale again. Like they really disappeared. I'm a little bit surprised by the sheer numbers of ones that I've never saw again.
That's interesting. I did have some books too. Came back. Well, one book came back. The other one I just show off you haven't seen, but so Weird Fantasy 13, number 1 really. Yeah, Feldstein cover.
Isn't that the first Weird Fantasy? It's 13.
It is Weird Fantasy number 1. So it used to be a Moon Girl and the Prince number 1, and then it changed to Moon Girl, and then it became a Moon, a Girl, a Romance, and after issue 12, Weird Fantasy 13, which is actually issue 1 for this. I'm so bad at this.
Is that their first like sci-fi kind of thing?
First sci-fi? You know, that's a good question. Let's see. Doesn't make a distinction if it is or isn't. So
who did that? Was that a Feldstein cover? He did some early ones. Yeah, I was gonna say he did 13, 14, 15. I think
it probably is the first EC sci-fi because the other ones were horror, and prior to that was like westerns.
Well, actually, Moon Girl was kind of sci-fi-ish. So I guess it can't really be the first sci-fi because Moon Girl was sci-fi-ish. So maybe Moon Girl was their first sci-fi type cover.
I always forget that's EC. Moon Girl.
Another one, because we've talked about this character a few times, figured I'd show off a Centaur and also an Arrow cover I have.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Centaurs. Look at this.
Yeah,
that's beautiful, beautiful colors.
Bought it raw a long time ago, man. Got in some, I don't remember even know how I got in, then got it graded and it came back 6.5. I was like, yep, that's a keeper.
Is that 19? Back in the chat, someone asked about keys. We don't go gaga over keys here. We go gaga over centaurs and books like that we don't see much of, you know, unicorns, rarities.
I go for keys for sure.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying we like unicorns on the show too.
That was an example though of how I get them though. The sacrifices to be made, because I would take my usual cash that you save up, and then whatever, you know, however much you had to bid, then that's how many books have to go to the slaughterhouse.
What happens?
You get anything else, Jeff? Is that it? I don't know if you have more.
Oh, I'm sure I got some other stuff too, man. Just
Well, we got it. Yeah, we're gonna be heading out.
show some other time.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being a friend. We're making it a little bit early tonight. No spinner rack. We promise one next week. Knights will do it. He's learning a new language right now, so we're giving him a little bit of a break. Yeah, he's learning new computer language.
Oh God.
So good luck to him. Thanks everybody for being here. Anything anybody want to promote before I go?
No, I just added my second video to my channel, Golden Age Guru.
Nice. I saw your. Is that the unboxing?
That's the unboxing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. You have to watch it. It's pretty funny.
Oh, and you said that show was good, the Umbrella.
Umbrella Academy season 2.
Season 2 is really good. Yeah, I'm almost done with it.
Cool.
Yeah,
How many?
how many episodes? I don't know.
10 episodes.
10.
You watched it all in one night.
I watched 7 of them in one night. I watched
6 of them in one
So-
night. Yeah.
The last 7 or the first 7?
last 7.
Oh man.
It's done really well. It's not the Umbrella Academy is back to back to back to back. It's kind of done real well like that. It's back to back to back. There's not like next week. It's not next week. It's next minute.
Yeah, typical Netflix finish. And if you haven't watched Lock and Key yet, treat yourself. Lock and Key is the books.
Yeah.
I mean, the graphic novel is better, but
do you guys like the Doom Patrol? I think they're doing. I like it.
I did not watch Doom Patrol.
I like Doom Patrol. It's definitely the Grant Morrison style. Definitely not the original, or even the '80s one.
Yeah,
but it's good. Season 2 is good. Yeah.
Just
so anyway,
better than season 1. Personally,
Umbrella Academy. Yeah,
I do.
I like it. I think it's much more
really
personal. Good. Yeah, it's right. It's much more personal.
I forgot all about that show. That makes me think that maybe The Boys season 2 is going to be out soon. Then
September.
I like that
season 2. Yeah, the season 2 trailer, the new one that just came out, is pretty sick.
You'd like that one, BS.
You'd like The Boys.
Yeah, I watched The Boys.
Yeah, that's Garth Ennis. You might like Doom Patrol's just as raunchy. It's just.
Yeah, I like The Boys. That's a good one. I'm waiting on Paper Girls from Amazon.
Which one?
Check out Doom Patrol. If you don't like it after the first, it's done pretty well. I mean, it's Grant Morrison. So
yeah, what I'm looking forward to is Paper Girls on Amazon Prime.
Oh, Paper Girls is coming out.
Amazon Prime is working on it. It's not just like they're actually in the process of making it right now. Yeah, so it's
good.
Do you like? Have you watched Sabrina on Netflix? It's darker. It's much darker than what Teenage Witch from the 90s. But Sabrina, have you watched that at all?
I haven't watched that. I'll check it out though. I'm watching Brave New World right now, and that's pretty good. It's not comic book related. That's all Huxley book.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to check out. I'm always behind what's coming out. But The Boys I'll watch as soon as it comes out. And Paper Girls I'll watch as soon as it comes out. But Doom Patrol, Umbrella Academy are sort of on my list, and I haven't watched them yet.
I'm actually going to do a pre-read of Avengers. It's called Vision and the Scarlet Witch. I got this trade paperback, and it's got the 4 John Byrne, the Vision stories and everything, and the miniseries, and 1 through 4 by Englehart and everything else. It's just pretty good. It makes me want to watch this show that's coming out on Disney Plus. Actually, they did their shareholder meeting today. Actually, I was going to see if they announced anything today, Star Wars or Marvel related. I'm supposed to get that out today. But anyway, thanks everybody for being here. Thanks. Hope everybody had a good time on the show. Sorry I didn't call out the chat a lot again, but I didn't bring my glasses and it's a pain in the neck. So thank you all for being a friend, and see you next week.
Hey guys.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the